See, we have an early request here. Normally we are just waiting for people to join in, but since we have a minute, I'll allow this person to speak. Come on up.
It's very important for everybody to give Langers energy, right? Put your arms in the air, send them that ETH merge spirit bomb, and just help them out. It's very important.
Yeah, I like that.
This is a good way to start a call. I'm feeling jazzed right now. Let's go.
I want to see that in trading too. I better see some given Langers your energy.
I think there's a Twitter thread as well, right? I guess we can't. Can we post links here? Don't think so.
I think there is a way for co-hosts to post, or speakers can post links in some kind of chat. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Gotta love Twitter Spaces. All right, that worked. Let me have a play around while we're waiting for Langers himself.
Oh, I see we got Darren here now. Let me invite him up.
I managed to post the Twitter thread as a reply comment to your Spaces post, Jasper, but I don't think there's any kind of internal chat in here.
All right, sounds good. Langers, seems like we really needed to give you your energy to get you on here.
Give me my energy. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Langers. I'm guessing you haven't seen the Twitter thread yet?
No, sorry. I've been heads down somewhere else.
I got him.
Busy man. Unfortunately, not enough time for the memes yet. But anyway, now that everyone is here.
Shame. I do love a meme.
Yeah, now that everyone is here, we can begin. Thank you everyone for joining us for our bi-weekly update with the team, where we will be covering some protocol updates. After that, we have a series of questions about some pretty hot topics, both in Rocky Pool and in the ecosystem at large, covering the recent sanctions issues, as well as some how that relates to the protocol. So before we begin, how is everyone doing?
Yeah, really good. It's definitely getting busier, and kind of we're locking down the actual release. Obviously, there's a few things in kind of the update, but we've submitted the proposal for the mainnet upgrade, so that's a really big step. So it's really exciting. Really exciting to have a mainnet launch date as well. It's all really we're really looking forward to the next few weeks.
The early merge has occurred. Everything is live. We have a TTD set. Has the merge ever felt so real?
No, no, they've never actually set a date. So like this is one better than last time where we were just around the corner, this time around they've actually set a date. So it's a big deal.
No rug pull this time. All right, so to start us off, protocol has been growing along steadily. rETH supply, mini pool count, and node operator count all growing about 2% annualized. In terms of the Smartnode, as you mentioned, everything essentially is set to go for our timeline leading up to the merge. So could you very briefly describe, in terms of time steps, what the following weeks leading up to the merge are going to look like, both for users on mainnet and also some of the ODAO things that are going on behind the scenes?
You take that one?
Oh yeah, no. From a Smartnode perspective, Joe can have a go for that. Go over it.
Okay. Happy to. So I'll offer kind of a TLDR of what to expect in the coming weeks, and then a little bit of a behind-the-scenes preview without taking too much. So Either tonight or tomorrow, depending on some final testing of a few things, I'm going to be launching version 151, which is a patch update to 150 that fixes a couple of minor things people have reported when they are trying to upgrade and testing that out, particularly native mode users. They were having a hard time with setting the fee recipient if they had to kind of manage it manually. So this helps them out a little bit, redo some of the fee recipient stuff. So that'll be out this week, and then the core devs are going to release Bellatrix-compatible versions of all of the mainnet clients. They are supposed to do that between the 18th and the 22nd, so I'm expecting that they should have everything good to go by probably like middle of next week, and then I can release a new version of the Smartnode that has all of that stuff in it. So if you think of 1.5 as sort of the Redstone ready client, 1.6 will be the merge ready client. That will have all of those updated client versions in it and a couple of extra little things that are going to be helpful for the merge. So I'm going to put in like a little box in the TUI that lets you set the TTD manually just in case it needs to be overwritten for mainnet. That's one of the things we learned with Robson, for example. It got a little messy because people were kind of messing around with the hash rate. So just in case they tried doing that again on mainnets, people can easily kind of adjust that. And there might be a few other little things in there that the community has been asking for. So we'll see. Let's stay tuned with that. And then after 1.6 comes out, there's some room between the Bellatrix and the merge for like a 1.6.1, an emergency patch release or anything like that. I'm not expecting one. I don't have anything planned. I think 1.6 is going to be it for the merge unless something important happens and I need to push like a client update, for example.
Don't count your chickens too fast now.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's like basically what I'm saying is there's nothing on my agenda that says this is not going to make it in for 1.6, but it will make it in for 1.6.1. So what will happen after 1.6 is basically I'll start working on a 1.7, next sort of major release, and we'll only do like a 1.6.1 in case there's any big changes that need to happen client-wise.
Got it. Thank you for the overview. It's going to be a pretty important couple of weeks. Another important tidbit is that part of this Redstone upgrade involves the changing of the claiming system for rewards. An important thing to note is that this current claim period, if you don't claim by the 29th, those rewards will be permanently lost. Is that correct?
Yes. So we did an announcement a couple of weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks ago, about this. Essentially, the last claim period that happened in early August was the last of the sort of legacy claim periods, if you will, that has the old school, you have to claim within 28 days or it's lost forever kind of rules. All of those are gone. So if you haven't claimed for that period, for that checkpoint that happened, you have to do so by August 29th, prior to the Redstone upgrade. Because as soon as the Redstone upgrade goes live on the blockchain, the claim system changes fundamentally and you won't be able to claim anymore. So for anyone who is sort of sitting on their claims for whatever reason for the last possible minute, August 29th is the hard cutoff for that. So make sure you claim before that and you will be good. Because September 1st is the next rewards period and that will be interval 0, so to speak, of Redstone. That's when we start doing the new stuff.
And when someone inevitably comes into the Discord on August 30th, don't say we didn't tell you.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you try to claim with 1.5, it'll say, okay, Redstone's been deployed, but there's no interval yet, so there's nothing to claim. And if you try claiming with 1.4 or whatever, it'll simply error out. It'll say, like, there's a contract failure, and I can't do this. Execution is reverted or whatever reason because the contract has changed, and 1.4 and below aren't aware of that change.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. So in terms of research and development,
sorry. One thing that we kind of skipped over slightly in terms of the timeline, it was the kind of ODAO stuff. So on, I think, beginning of this week, we raised a proposal to upgrade the smart contracts. And so the ODAO will be able to, there's like a 7-day delay on voting. And that's just kind of a more visibility sort of thing. So there's like a 7-day delay, and then it becomes available for the ODAO to start voting. So it will start becoming available to vote on the 22nd of August, I think. And so from that period onwards, the ODAO can start voting. As soon as we get a quorum of those ODAO votes, obviously, hopefully in the success in the fall, then once that happens, then we can actually execute the vote quite soon after, and then we can then the core team are able to then execute the actual upgrade on the 29th. So that's kind of like the steps of how we actually release the smart contract changes. And then obviously what Joe was saying there was how we're releasing the smart node changes that, and we've kind of given everyone lots of time to kind of install that 1.5 release, so that it's kind of Redstone ready.
Great. Always important for us to keep track of the ODAO going on in the background. Moving on towards research and development now, one update that's recently been made live is the Optimism Oracle is now successfully deployed, and I believe also has had the modification necessary for the balancer metastable pool. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we actually did it in a slightly different way. So we've got like a generic Optimism Oracle contract on Optimism that has like the get rate or whatever it is. But we also then kind of wrapped it with another one specifically for Balancer, so that it matched their interface. We kind of just did that because it seemed cleaner than than having to kind of like change the name of the method each time somebody wanted it changed to a different name. So
right.
So we've got that. Yes, and then that's all in place now. So the rETH exchange rate is actually on Optimism and is being kind of oracled by essentially the ODAO is pushing it to Optimism.
This is definitely going to be crucial for integrations as they come forward, which we'll be talking about a little bit later into this call. Also on the research and development side, the government's delegate profile page has had some advancement. Is there anything you would like to share about how that's progressing?
Yeah, I think it's going quite well. Actually, I think Nick has been mainly handling that. So I don't have as much visibility on that at the moment, but yeah. So I think it's going really well. I think there's plenty of delegates on there. I got rickrolled at least once. But no, it's good. Yeah, it's good to see actually.
I believe Joe is a delegate on the page. Joe, do you want to talk a little bit about the process of setting that up?
I have to give massive props to Nick for dealing with all of my Argent-based nonsense first and foremost before I even get into this. The process for setting up a delegate is actually quite simple. You get to the page, it lists all the delegates, and there's a button on there that says, hey, do you want to make a profile so that you can be a delegate? Click right here. So I did. And it asks you for the typical kind of information, like tell us your name, tell us your Discord handle, your DAO forum handle, your GitHub address, put a video on there if you want people to be able to like see you in person on a video, that kind of stuff, give us a summary. So you just fill in the usual information. And then you have to sign that whole thing with your wallet, with the private key for the wallet that you're actually using to represent your thing. And Argent is, well, we'll say special in some cases, so I use Argent for mine. And so I tried signing it, and it broke naturally. And I went to Nick, and I said, Nick, I can't make a profile. Please help me out. And he was very good about taking a look at it and understanding what needed to be done and getting Argent support in there. So huge props to Nick for that.
Nick, anything you would like to add about the delegate page?
I think we're talking about a different Nick here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
I'm referring
apologies.
to Nick Doherty, our
The
That
original
makes
web.
Nick.
much more sense.
Yeah,
I was
not Mav.
wondering how. Yeah.
Apologies for the confusion.
It would be nice to get Nick on one of these calls to talk a little bit about the governance page.
Maybe we can get him as a special guest one time. I'll have a Nick to Nick chat. Is this my connection playing up again?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you. I believe the last thing you guys heard me say was the Nick mix-up. So, moving on to governance. Lots has been going on in the governance world. It's essentially in top gear. A little while ago, Langers put out an article summarizing how the PDAO broadly would be functioning. And since then, we've had our first vote go live. Langers, would you like to talk about how the team has sort of set things up broadly and how this vote has either lived up to expectations or not lived up to expectations? This vote being the vote to increase the deposit pool.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, this vote was a relatively easy one, because we'd already the sentiment was already knew what the sentiment was, but yeah. So we put out the governance phase 0. So obviously quite a while ago, we put the DAO forum in place so that the community can propose and publicly, have public discourse and discussion around those proposals, garner feedback, and also garner support and all that sort of thing. The kind of the one of the last pieces of the puzzle is the snapshot voting to allow those proposals to be assessed based on community signaling in terms of this is we support this, or we don't support this. And that was what we released a little while ago, with the governance post as well, and with the delegate page. The delegate page is there for nominations for representatives. Now, the idea behind this is that voting generally, but particularly in DeFi protocols, is quite difficult because you often get quite low voter participation. So one of the common ways that you get around that is by using kind of delegates. So delegates are kind of active members of the community that you essentially assign your vote to, and then they vote on your behalf. This means that people who are not as active in the community, or kind of don't have lives outside of Rocket Pool, can actually assign their vote to a value aligned kind of representative, and get their vote actually heard, which is great for kind of participation. Obviously, we'd hope that everyone would participate in governance, but we do realise that it can be difficult to kind of keep track of everything. So anyway, so they're the kind of elements that we've put in place for the governance. And so, as you said, the first vote was put up last week. It had kind of 7 days of voting, and it passed last night. Basically, it's now closed, and it met the quorum, and it also passed almost unanimously. So that's absolutely fantastic, and I think as we go, we'll get better at doing this. I'm sure we're going to be having a lot of votes over the next few kind of weeks. And so we're going to get better at kind of doing this and figuring out what needs to be done and when it needs to be done and that sort of thing. So I think the vote's gone really well. The quorum was an educated guess. So meeting it and was pretty good, especially as not everybody is kind of geared up to do the voting at the moment. So the next round, I think it'll be much easier to kind of pass that quorum. But there's now a lot of discussion around what that quorum should sit on and all this sort of thing. And there's been a lot of discussion around how the process actually works, and I think that's a really good thing from my point of view. I think I like to see the community take ownership of these things, and really kind of drive things. So yeah, it's fantastic.
I think on our last call together, we talked a bit about how we kind of need the community to come together to build a rules and orders type of book. I don't remember what the exact original famous book was, but a book that described either the very detailed structuring of this governance process was necessary. And it seems now that we are getting that. So, one, getting this very technical worked out solution of how to do the votes through our first vote, but we're also getting this much more in-depth Rocky Pool improvement proposals. So RPIP 10 and 11 have both seen significant work from the community, so I believe they warrant a little bit of discussion here. RPIP 10 is the PDAO budget allocation. This is currently still in the draft phase, as there's back and forth between members of the community and between the community and the team on precise wording and specifications. But broadly speaking, this RPIP will vote to set the budget for the protocol DAO and also create the technical infrastructure for how it will operate. Have you had a chance? I know you have had a chance to read through RPIP 10, as there has been some commentary back and forth. But broadly speaking, do you have any thoughts you want to share about how the community has been handling it?
Yeah, no, as I said, I think it's fantastic that the community have kind of picked this up and are really running with it. I mean, there are lots of people involved, but particularly like Wanda and Valdorf being kind of doing a lot of the pushing. And so yeah, no, it's fantastic that the community is kind of organizing in this way. That's what DAOs are supposed to do. So it's really good. I mean, so and I've had a look through, and I've given feedback on 10 and 11. So I think they're looking really good. The budget allocations are kind of make sense. And obviously liquidity incentives are a very big kind of priority for the community. So yeah, they're both looking really good.
Well, one comment that often comes up in Discord in relation to these two proposals is a broad timeline towards how a snapshot would happen. Is there anything you can give on a timeline specifically, or is this still too up in the air in draft stage to comment on?
So, I mean, the RPIPs have gotten a fair amount of coverage within the governance thread. I think we probably need to put it onto the forum and just make sure that it's got broad visibility in terms of what the RPIP actually is. I think this is kind of something that maybe I think we're definitely discussing this sort of thing in RPIP 4 actually. RPIP 4 is kind of the RPIP that defines the governance process itself. I think I'm not sure whether that's got in there some period of time that you. I think it might actually have like a period of time where you discuss the RPIP. So I think it needs to go on the governance forum, but we can raise a vote quite quickly. Like as soon as people think that it's had enough time, kind of it's had enough visibility, and I think the thing is these two things have been kind of boiling along for a little while, so I'm quite conscious of that. And I know people are very, very keen to see them mentioned quickly. I'm also, I also want to, try and stick to some sort of process that we're going to kind of like stick to going forward. Particularly as we want to make sure that everyone has visibility on these things, not just the really highly active people in the Discord. But there is a bit of a kind of a trade-off between those two things. So yeah, I don't see a problem with getting the vote up quite quickly on these. As said, they have been bubbling along in the community for a while. But it would probably be a good idea to get some visibility on it first, and put some announcements out about the RPIPs, make sure that we draw people into them, and then we do the vote so that people have time to then absorb what the change is and then vote on it.
So just to provide some fact basis, looking at RPIP4, you are correct. The suggested timeline is 7 days after a poll, an informal poll, is posted for the theoretical proposal, RPIP. So yeah, I'll definitely be helping push the community to get both of these polls up for the community to talk about informally before the actual live snapshots go up.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Right, so thank you for your comments there. Other governance topics that are generating a lot of discussion are, as usual, LEB implementations. And at the same time, we have two new rocket scientists. So Patches and Object will have both joined the team and have both been providing incredible work to the rocket pool community. I see we have Patches here listening in, so just wanted to take a moment to say congratulations and thank you to Patches, as well as Object, of course, for your work. And I hope we can continue to expand the rocket scientists. Anything you would like to add about the program?
Oh yeah, no, just want to echo that. Yeah, congratulations, guys, and
sorry, I mean Pateris. No, Patches was already a rocket. Patches was already a rocket scientist. Pateris, who is a legend that developed the rocket Rockbot website. So sorry, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. It makes more sense. All right, cool, awesome. So we'll be expanding the program, kind of a little bit at a time, but yes, yeah, and yeah, we will be expanding the program a little bit at a time.
Great. The rock scientists are huge helps to the community. So we've also have been ongoing a collaboration with Optimism. The proposal passed quite well, and the current status is sort of a in-between state as we wait for their team to send the applicant over. Exactly 600,000 Optimism tokens to be distributed over 6 months across Beethoven X and Velodrome. Langers, anything you want to update us on about that? I believe they are having some regulatory concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some stuff going on with Optimism generally around their kind of regulatory concerns. I know there was a post by, is it Polly? What's the name of the? Anyway,
Apollinia.
Yeah, Apollinia. Yeah, I know there's a post on Apollinia. I think from our perspective, it's not necessarily a regulatory thing. It's just more of a compliance thing. So they have some compliance constraints, which I don't want to go into the exact details right now because we are working through with them. I think if I'm going to be having a call with them. We're working out the schedule for a call with them. I was hoping to have the call with them this week, but we'll see whether it's this week or beginning of next week. To kind of just work through that stuff. Once I've had that meeting, I'll be a bit more confident to kind of talk about it kind of more openly. But yeah, it's mainly just working through. So they've got some, as I said, some compliance requirements about how they distribute the funds, and so we just need to work through some of that stuff.
Got it. That'll definitely be a huge help to the protocol when it happens. So exciting to see how it's moving along.
Yeah. No, we're definitely trying to move things along as quickly as possible so that we can, start, benefiting from those funds, but also optimism benefiting from those funds as well.
Right. We have a real opportunity here to do a lot of good for optimism by making it so that users have a choice between what staked ETH derivative they want to use, instead of sort of being shoehorned into only a one token with liquidity situation. So in terms of integrations, for those of you in the Ribbon Finance rETH covered call vault, you're now able to stake your your rETH vault position to earn our Ribbon tokens. So I personally was in this vault early on when it released and had some good profit, and then quickly switched over to the covered put selling vault just due to market conditions. And in that vault, I have been staking my position. So it was great to see that rETH stakers can now also benefit from Ribbon inflation rewards. The MakerDAO situation is still ongoing. We have had some update. They were concerned about the Redstone update, given that it would be coming out fairly close to when MakerDAO planned on releasing their vault. So as such, they wanted to see the Redstone audits as well as have the Redstone update actually be live. As such, we are looking like we're going to see this vault go live in mid-September, or rather, we should hopefully see the vote, the final executive vote, which should be a formality to get Maker to release their rETH vault in September. Langers, is there anything you want to add about MakerDAO and that integration, or does that summarize the situation?
That summarizes really well. I think I'd like to thank. I think there were some people who were. So one of the Maker devs jumped into one of the. I think it was maybe the smart contracts channel, and then people helped him out with understanding what was going on with the Redstone release and that sort of thing. So a big thank you to all those people that jumped in there and kind of educated the developer on that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's nice that we can have a protocol come in and ask a question sort of at any time of the day, and someone will have a pretty good answer for that person.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's really great.
Another interesting integration that's ongoing is sort of a partially community-driven program. So the Gravity protocol is a Liquidity fork aiming to facilitate Rocket Pool's growth in the broader ecosystem. Liquidity is a stablecoin protocol designed around just ETH and only ETH that is also governance minimized. This creates a lot of censorship resistant properties, and that is very attractive for someone who also likes Rocket Pool, given Rocket Pool is very tail end focused. So hopefully the Gravity X Rocket Pool collaboration can continue. Langers, is there anything you'd like to add about Gravity? It would be pretty interesting if we could get Rhett Sips to come on the space in the future. He is an active member of the Rocket Pool community and also working with Gravity.
Yeah, no, and we've had a few meetings over the last couple of weeks, and I think we're definitely kind of in the discovery phase with kind of Gravity and with Red. But yeah, it's looking good. There's a few kind of options, but yeah, we're kind of still kind of figuring out how we're going to kind of interact.
Right. It's a very poignant time for this type of a fork to come out, as MakerDAO is sort of going through this existential crisis about should they market buy $3 billion worth of ETH to move away from USDC collateral. So the idea of a purely or a crypto collateral stablecoin to be that for its censorship resistant properties is definitely an in-demand idea. Moving on to Beethoven and Balancer, the rETH Oracle is now live, and I believe the pool, the gauge to vote for the pool is also live. So this means that initial, is that correct, or did you want to go there?
Yeah, no. I was just saying yes. It was kind of happening over our weekend, and kind of so that was kind of going on. But yeah, it's being kind of created. I think we had to create it quite quickly because of the getting in the Aura, like kind of voting timeline and that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, all these on-chain bribery things have hard deadlines for when pools have to be created and when voting gauges have to be live so that allocations can be made. There's no going backwards in the blockchain. Fortunately, all of the rETH pools requirements and infrastructure so that we can utilize the bribing system with Aura on Optimism is now live. And so the Balancer team themselves will have some initial emissions commencing on September 1st. I believe Thomas may be wanting to move some of his bribing power over to Optimism. It's unclear, however, that could be a potential source. And of course, once the Optimism token grant is in the possession of the management committee, they will be actualizing that through this Aura system to benefit stakers in that LP. So if you want to get ahead of the curve, September 1st is when you ideally want to start looking at joining the Beethoven X, which is a Balancer fork, the rETH pool of air. So
just to ask that. So Ken was asking a question in trading. Around when the deposit point increase will go live. We're going to put out an announcement out today around that, and it will basically aim to get kind of executed by the end of the week.
Great, that's going to be huge. As one of the big reasons we wanted the 5K deposit pool was for different treasuries to actualize large-scale moves quickly. One in particular was rookedao, which has recently announced that they will be moving forward with purchasing rETH on the open market as part of their latest update. So that is one thing to look out for. The rETH peg, as typical for rETH, has maintained its advantage as being closer to on peg than stETH. So rookedao, making their large purchase, should help push us even further closer up to peg. In terms of media and marketing now, so the Bankless performance for July was pretty comparable with June, but most notably is the upcoming community bullcast. This has been scheduled tentatively for September 2nd at what time? At 9:55 a.m. Pacific or PDT. Or Mav, you want to?
Yeah, sure. That sounds about right. We will get an event created in the Discord, which will have that local time conversion available just closer to when it takes place, so people don't get confused about what week it's happening on. But yeah, 2nd September, there will be that bullcast, and I'm guessing to front run what you were going to say
Feel
next.
free to.
Yes. Yeah, there's also the question about continuing sponsorship with Bankless. So you may have noticed in the recent biweekly update, there's a link there to a DAO governance forum post. And that's just to gather some feedback about whether we would want to see that continue into Q4. There's a few points that you might want to have a quick look over to color your thinking on this topic. Definitely some points for, some points against, but that opportunity is available to us, and we should have some more specifics both on what that would entail, the sponsorship that is, but also for anyone who's curious, the July performance. So it was roughly similar to June in about 2 or so million impressions at a CPM of $35 or so, but we will get those exact numbers for July, just clarifying with the Bankless team right now.
The Bankless sponsorship was the first major expenditure of the Protocol DAO. So seeing it continue is probably going to be a very important topic in governance. I highly recommend everyone make their opinion known. I know that the Bankless sponsorship is more contentious than it was at launch, so I hope you have a spirited discussion around all the merits or demerits on the topic. Also, tentatively being discussed is a dress rehearsal of the aforementioned Bankless Bullcast. So look out for that. It'll probably be live streamed in the Discord sometime before the actual Bullcast on September 2nd. Rocket Pool also has a official branded URL for the YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rocketpool. Will take you directly to the YouTube channel where all of these Twitter spaces are recorded and uploaded. Looking forward, what could we expect to see on this YouTube channel, Maverick?
Well, we have had a few uploads since the channel was created, recordings of these very Twitter spaces. But yeah, YouTube are a bit particular about meeting certain requirements to brand a channel as far as getting that custom URL. So I wanted to just hold off a little bit until we did have that in place before spreading the word. Kind of surprised that after I first brought this topic up, no one in trading jumped in and stole the URL from under us. But yeah, it's we finally met that final requirement, which was to have the account be 1 month old. And now that URL is in place, it's kind of taken the place of that string of letters and numbers, and we can start putting it in some of our marketing activities. So to answer your question of what exactly we will see, on the one hand, more of the same. So we will continue uploading recordings of these calls that could potentially extend, if people are comfortable, to things like the Bankless Bullcast test run. We can have a separate discussion on that, but essentially content to keep people up to date with what's happening in the world of Rocket Pool, and also appreciating that, you know, due to time zones, it doesn't always suit everyone to participate in every call relatively late in the evening or even very early morning in parts of Europe right now. So there'll be those recordings. We'll also start clipping up some of the highlights. I do try to mark out the kind of topic transitions in the description of these videos, but if someone isn't keen to sit through an hour or what is sometimes an hour and a half of a recording, areas of interest such as perhaps merge updates or liquidity incentives, we'll start to clip them out and have them as separate recordings. Also, progress is still underway in creating some, I got to find a different name for this, not quite a hype video, but along those lines of kind of showcasing what's so great about Rocket Pool in 1 or 2 minutes. That can be a great resource both for educating potential new community members, of which we are expecting will be a few come the merge, and that period is shortly thereafter. But also for those of you who are out there who I see spreading the word on Twitter, Reddit, various social media platforms, it can be a great resource to kind of link to in case anyone's curious about Rocket Pool. So that's another thing to look out for, and we hope to have 1 or 2 of those type videos available before the merge for those purposes. And then over time, there's the potential to move into even a live stream format. similar to what we saw recently with the testnet merge that Bankless hosted. We can potentially here at Rocket Pool have a similar live stream, whether it's one of these calls or other notable events or milestones. Potentially there's a potential there to host that on the YouTube channel, and also, of course, make recordings available shortly thereafter. So, a bit to look forward to there.
Great, thanks, Nick. I'm always looking forward to new avenues of creating educational materials. One of my favorite channels, and one of the ways I actually got back into DeFi back in 2021, was the Finematics YouTube channel. And so that's the pairing of fairly technical knowledge with simple and intuitive imagery. I think Rocket Pool fits very well with that kind of format. So definitely looking forward to the stuff you can whip up. The Rocket Pool YouTube channel is not the only Rocket Pool YouTube channel that is getting spun up right now. So we have had a community-made YouTube channel by Whack Attack, spelled WAQWAQ. They have launched the Rocket Fuel YouTube channel, where they are posting daily updates about what's happening in trading on Reddit, on all the avenues in which Rocket Pool information is discussed. There can absolutely be an overwhelming amount to discuss or keep up with. So shout out to Whack Attack for condensing it down into a daily, concise format.
Yeah, I have to say the commitment to a daily video is quite impressive. It'll certainly keep me on my toes to make sure that the official Rocket Pool YouTube channel is up to date. Hoping to have this recording in particular up within a couple of hours of the Twitter Spaces finishing up.
Great to hear. We've also had some media coverage in Messari and Forbes, two major publications. The Messari article talked essentially about the Marsu scaling thread. It went through LEBs, Redstone, and the merge hype, and how all of that essentially translates into positive momentum for the RPL token. The Forbes article I'm actually not exactly familiar with, but it's great to see us in a major front-facing publication like that.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some more of that coming up. In fact, I know there's going to be more of that coming up with Messari. So, so that'll be good to see.
Awesome. And everyone's favorite hedge fund manager, apparently Hal Press, has also put out a interview covering the merge dynamics on his own channel as well as Bankless, or I believe one with Squish Chaos and Squish Chaos, and another one with Bankless. So both of those touch on how RPL dynamics are affected by the merge. So if you are an RPL bull, you'll probably want to check those out. Lastly, in terms of media, the Rocket Pool team will be in Bogota in October. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. So we're just kind of sorting out the actual logistics, but we were confirmed kind of our team tickets and everything over the last couple of weeks, and like a speaking spot as well. So that's all kind of locked in. So now we just need to get there.
Right.
And then there's a need to the few things that we need to kind of sort out for what we're going to do when we get there. There's not really a sponsorship thing going on with DEF CON, so it's going to be it's not like we can. I don't think there's going to be booths or anything. It's not that sort of conference. It's much more kind of builder and dev orientated. So which is going to be really good fun. We're really looking forward to it.
I'm sure you're going to be fielding tons of questions about the SaaS model come Bogota.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that covers the bi-weekly update, unless I've missed anything. And now I have a few topics, a bit more specific topics that have come up in trading today that I would love to chat a little bit about. So the first one, yeah, unless I missed anything, do you want to add something, Darren?
No, all good. Go shoot.
All right, sweet. So Joe sort of dusted a little breadcrumbs out in trading today about a major announcement, he said. Something that he'd been waiting over nearly a year to announce. And that is Nimbus has announced support for split mode. So I am a non-technical I am a fairly non-technical person. I just like to keep up with the ecosystem. Is it possible for you to explain to me the significance of this announcement in layman's terms? I'm assuming
Yeah,
Joe?
yeah. This is really easy in layman's terms. All right. So let's talk for a second about fallback clients and fallback support. Okay. Are you familiar with that from layman's terms? The
Yes.
whole. Okay, perfect. So version 1.5 changed the way fallback support worked because of the new merge mechanics, this whole engine API thing. And essentially, you need to have an execution client paired with a consensus client, right? Now, all of the other clients out there, so Teku and Prism and Lighthouse and even Lodestar, have a model where you can split the consensus client, the beacon node, and the validator client into separate processes, into separate things that can run. That way, if your beacon node needs to go down for whatever reason, you can reattach the validator client to a separate beacon node. That way you can keep on validating. Nimbus works differently. Nimbus has one process that runs as both of those things. And that's a problem because if, for example, you need to take Geth down to prune, if Geth is your execution client, that means Nimbus goes down with it. And Nimbus is the thing that holds your validator keys, that does all the attestations and stuff. So there's no way to have Nimbus like pause its pause its beacon duties, but keep its validation duties and connect to something else. It doesn't work that way because it's one process. And this has been a point of contention pretty much since I added Nimbus to Rocket Pool, like way back in the end of 2020 and stuff. It's something that I have been poking them on and off about for a while, but the community has gotten very vocal about it since the revelation of the way fallback stuff works with the merge. So, for example, like Thomas is running on Nimbus, and he's running a lot of mini pools, and he can't leverage fallback stuff in case he needs to take down his execution client or in case there's a bug with the beacon node or anything like that, which means his system is down and he has to switch over. I know Marceau, for example, is on Lighthouse, but has expressed interest in moving over to Nimbus, but has lamented the fact that he can't do it until Nimbus allows you to use fallback systems, that he can have a more robust setup, essentially, for his stuff. So what this means, what this thing that Nimbus has finally come out with means is they have finally elected to, or finally built support for what I'm calling split mode, split validator client mode, which means running the beacon node in one process and the validator client in the other process, just like all of the other clients do, so that we can have it support fallback systems, so that you can take down your primary Nimbus and connect the validator client to a second thing elsewhere. It doesn't have to be Nimbus, it can be anything else, really. That is huge from everyone that uses Nimbus's perspective going into the merge. And to be sure, it's still in beta. It's not done yet. You can't use this on mainnet. They're still testing it, and they want to make sure that it is robust and works very well before they kind of bring this onto mainnet. And so I suppose I should ask for all of our beta testers' help. I'm going to be pushing a version of 151. I haven't decided what I'm going to call it yet. It could be 151N, could be 152, something like that. But after the 151 release, I'm going to be pushing a second version just for Praetor so that all of our beta testers can try out this split mode and help Nimbus get some feedback, get some metrics, get whatever they need to ensure that it is robust. So all you beta testers out there, please help us try Nimbus split mode out once I release it.
So Nimbus users definitely rejoice. It's glad to see Nimbus catching up to all the other clients in this regard.
You can't tell, but I'm rejoicing. I'm just muted.
Oh, I was also muted. So Nimbus was our most recent addition to our clients we support. I believe there was another client that was being considered or developed. Am I making this up? Aragon or something?
Oh, yeah, that's an execution client. That's not a consensus client. So there is still stuff out there that I haven't integrated into the Smartnode yet, simply because it's not ready yet. I should say it's still in beta, still working on it, still has yet to release version 1.0 and is sort of blessed by the Ethereum Foundation. So Aragon is one that exists for the execution layer, and Lodestar is one that exists for the consensus layer. And they've, to Lodestar's credit, they came to me in like February and they said, "What do you need for us to get into the Smartnode stack?" And I gave them a laundry list of features that they needed to be able to support. And about a month ago, they came back and said, "Okay, we have done everything that you've asked. We're ready for this." And that's when I was getting 1.5 out the door, and I couldn't deal with it. So I owe those guys putting Lodestar in, and I will try to get that in as soon as I can, for sure.
Shout out to the Rocket Bowl team continuously pushing the clients forward, it seems.
You know, we could talk for a long time about that. The Watchtower Merkle tree generation for the rewards in particular has been in a massive stress test on everybody's adherence to the Beacon API, and it's been really great at finding bugs in various clients and things like that. So it's certainly been helpful for robustifying all the clients in that respect.
Nice. So moving on to another interesting and contentious topic is the recent sanctions drama. And very specifically, a conversation has sprung up around Flashbox and MEV Boost. So MEV Boost is a system by which essentially a simple or a proto proposer builder separation model where builders can sort of compete against each other to get into the proposer, to get to the proposer. The problem with the current system for MEV Boost is that there's only one relay in which people can engage in, and that is the Flashbots relay. Because of that, there is the possibility for that relay to become censored and thus make the entire system of MEV Boost censored. So can we have a bit of a discussion about how Rocket Pool team views OFAC censorship very generally speaking, and then more specifically in the context of how we may be integrating Flashbots in the future?
Yeah, sure. So we are kind of against censoring transactions. I think it's probably quite widely felt within the Ethereum community that if we're censoring transactions, then Ethereum's probably failing. So that's our kind of position on it. I think the reason why we haven't necessarily commented kind of openly about it at the moment is because at the moment there's like no decision to make. So when at the moment, I think I've been trying to keep kind of across what Flashbots are saying about what they're going to do. I've been seeing kind of conflicting things. Some of our developers are saying that they're not going to be censoring. So until they kind of come out with a formal official response to what they're actually going to do, we can't really, make the call on what we're going to do. So that's definitely something that we're keeping a very, very close eye on. But yeah, that's our general kind of thing is that we do not want to censor transactions. It's also a very, I would say, there's a lot of not misinformation, but there's a lot of kind of mild panic in the ecosystem when we don't really know how it's going to play out, and so that again is something that we are keeping an eye on, but we're not going to kind of overreact to. So that's where we are at the moment.
Right.
Actually, sorry. I should say that we can understand the concern, particularly from US node operators, that they kind of want to know what's going on with things, but from our perspective, we're in the dark as much as they are. So yeah.
Flashbots also has a currently closed source relay, so it is not
Yes,
verifiable. Even if they make the claim that they are not censoring transactions, it may not be the case that's verifiable until we can see what's under the hood. So definitely a lot of discussion.
I mean, one thing to note there is that it is closed source now, but they have said that it will be open source. So there is a slight subtlety there. I know it's not open source now, and it would probably be better if it was, but they do intend to make it open source.
One of the best solutions, I think, moving forward would be if this controversy sort of accelerates the pace at which other relays get up to speed and gain the degree of trust they need to create an efficient system. But that seems unlikely a bit to happen before the merge, so hopefully it is just the case that Flashbots is not censoring and that this was all a bit of an overblown situation.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly in touch with other groups similar to Flashbots. So we are kind of hedging bets slightly, but Flashbots is so kind of well integrated with the clients and that sort of thing that it makes sense for them to kind of use them if we can.
So just for sake of clarity, the current course of action for Rocket Pool was to have Flashbots relay be the default relay that is used. In worst case scenario, let's say Flashbots is actively censoring, will Rocket Pool then not use Flashbots as the default? Of course, this being a very hypothetical and out there scenario.
Yeah, in the worst case scenario, we wouldn't have them as the default. If we're honest, we would probably be looking at integrating other relays anyway, because of the fact that at least in the short term, Flashbots are, their intention is to decentralize, but in the first instance, they are not going to be decentralized. They're going to be a centralized relay. So already we would probably be looking at other integrating other services to balance that out, and give kind of fallback options to node operators anyway. So that we were already doing that, but this would obviously shift us into probably not using Flashbots, or having them as like basically you pick which one you want.
I will add that the added utility of being able to pick your own relay is something that I've been approached by different institutions who have been looking at investing with Rocket Pool have wanted. Some of these groups have expressed interest in the ability of Rocket Pool to leverage up MEV opportunities, but expressed disinterest in using the Flashbots relay for various reasons. So I believe that the decision to inevitably move to a variety of relays was inevitable, and this is perhaps only just accelerating that discussion.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, our only thing is that they have to have there are particular features that we're required to be able to integrate them. But yeah, that's basically where we sit at the moment.
So this last conversation topic that I wanted to bring up is to back to, do we have any timeline on the Proteus? Can you give us a bit of an update on it? It's been a little while.
Yes, I certainly can. We're at 9:07 now. I don't want to run over too late because this is the Rocket Pool call, not the Proteus call. But
this is our last topic, so
here's what I will offer with you. Long story short, the prototype that I had that I showed off in the video, they changed the design, the final version of the Rock 5 that's coming out, and they moved the uh, the CPU, which means they moved where the heatsink and the fan goes, which means the case that I built isn't going to fit anymore. So I need to get a new version of the final thing that gets actually shipped, like the production version, and build a case around that. But in the meantime, I haven't just been sitting idly by. I have been taking some time to kind of explore what's involved in essentially getting the front panel to work. And that's the thing that has like the power LED and the activity LED and stuff. There's way too much to go into, but suffice it to say, on August 12th, the Rakta guys provided a version of their kernel source code that makes it easy for me to essentially build a plugin that changes some of their stuff without having to rewrite the kernel. And I took a bunch of time, figured out how that plugin system works, and built one of those. And so now I can use the vanilla kernel and have the front panel work as well, which means people can get kernel upgrades without me having to maintain my own repository. So I'm very excited about that. But as
That is
far as
awesome. Yeah.
it is super
Decentralized.
awesome because
Yeah.
I do not want to be responsible for maintaining a kernel repository. So that's very nice to hear. But as far as timing goes, they tell me that they will be shipping the production versions either late this month or early next month. And once I get my hands on one of those and I build a new case, I can print out another prototype, and then I can start taking requests for pre-orders and things.
Awesome. Definitely going to follow that one along. I feel like it's going to be the sort of what Lattice became to Rocket Pool, the defective or the default standard hardware wallet. I hope.
Well, hang on. So Langers has made this very clear. I am not allowed to ship this as the official, canonical Rocket Pool platform because Rocket Pool works across all platforms, right? So I have to be very careful in how that's interpreted.
Yes, you are correct. However, trading does like to pick favorites.
That is fair.
So that just about wraps it up for our call today. To summarize, we covered the updates and general timeline for Rocket Pool, so the Smartnode as we approach the merge. Mainly, or most importantly, featuring a warning that this current claim period must be claimed before August 29th, as the rewards will no longer be claimable after that point. Lots of work has been taken place on version 1.5.1, including various quality of life things. The Optimism Oracle has been deployed to Optimism, allowing for the balancer ecosystem to essentially deploy as well. Governance has been accelerating with great emphasis around RPIP 10 and 11. These two RPIPs establish a budget for the protocol DAO and an outline for incentive management committees. These two proposals are essentially near completion, so I highly recommend the community get involved, read them, and leave their opinions. Integrations have been humming along, with the Ribbon Finance Vault stakers now able to stake their positions for RBN inflation rewards. The MakerDAO system has told us that an executive vote should be live in middle of September, as well as the Gravity protocol's ongoing discussions for a different type of stablecoin based on rETH. The Beethoven system, as I mentioned, is now live, and initial emissions will start on the Beethoven X pool on September 1st. Media and marketing has been coming along nicely, with a discussion going on about continuing the Bankless sponsorship in Q4. The Bullcast is also tentatively scheduled, which will feature a dress rehearsal in the community. The YouTube channel for Rocket Pool is now live at youtube.com/rocketpool, and we have had some various important analyses in media from Masari and Forbes. We also talked a little bit about how the recent sanctioned news affect Flashbots / Rocket Pool. We also talked about the node that Proteus, Joe's work on Proteus and the Nimbus split upgrade that is currently being worked on by the Nimbus team. That was our Twitter space for this week. Next week, Ken will be hosting another one on Tuesday. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Jasper.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Cheers.